Hi, everybody, and thanks for giving me a few minutes to chat with you about a new project that the SMILE project is going to be collaborating with and on. My name is Cory Buxton, and I'm a faculty member in the College of Education in Science Education. I'm not usually a disembodied floating head, but I am today. I'm sorry that I can't be with you virtually live. I'm virtually pre-recorded, but I really am looking forward to getting to know you all in the coming year or years. I want to take just a couple minutes to share a few things with you about this new project, which is called Language, Culture, and Knowledge Building Through Science, or we call it LaCuKnoS for short. LaCuKnoS, Language, Culture, Knowledge. And LaCuKnoS is a project that has just recently been funded by the National Science Foundation. And there's a team of us at OSU who will be running this project, and we are coordinating with SMILE. Sue Ann Bottoms and Jaywell are two of the members of this LaCuKnoS team, as well as obviously being the SMILE leaders. And me and several other faculty members at OSU will now be getting involved with SMILE through LaCuKnoS. I created a short little 2-page handout with some basic information, but I just wanted to also record a short video just to share a couple things about me and about the project. So a little bit about me. I'm just finishing my second year here at Oregon State, but I've been a faculty member in education, preparing science teachers for about 20 years. And before that, I was a middle school and high school science teacher myself for 7 years, first as a Peace Corps volunteer in Guatemala, and then as a science and bilingual science teacher in New Orleans and in Colorado, teaching mostly immigrant and newcomer students, English learners, in English y en español. And I got very frustrated doing that job because I knew that we weren't serving our English learners well, and I knew that I didn't know enough about what we needed to do differently to do it better, so I needed more education. So I ended up in a PhD program studying this, and rather than ending up back in the classroom as I originally thought, I ended up preparing future teachers instead. And I'm also very active in trying to research this topic. So I've had a series of projects over the years that have worked collaboratively with teachers to learn and practice new approaches together to try to better meet the needs of English learners. And I fully believe that the lessons we learn from working with English learners teach us a lot about what we can do better with all students. So this is a project that does have second language learners in science as sort of our special group of particular interest. But this project absolutely is about serving all of our students better. And it's also about communicating and collaborating more powerfully and more effectively with families. That's the other really critical piece of this work for me that I've spent a lot of time over 20 years working on, is how do we communicate more effectively with families, especially families who feel marginalized from school and maybe don't connect well with school, and we struggle to build those relationships. We know that personal relationships matter so much in education, and when we struggle to make those family connections, it has an impact on how effectively we can work with a given kid. And of course, I'm preaching to the choir. You all know this. This is why you're engaged in this kind of work. So I'm super thrilled to get a chance to work with you. The project that I just finished in Georgia before I came here, in that project, we were developing a professional learning framework and then a pedagogical model of instructional practices. Now, that professional learning framework, what we did with the teachers, actually looks amazingly similar to what you all do in SMILE. So when I started talking with Sue Ann and Jay, that's the first thing we realized, is that what we worked on about what we think the professional learning ought to be is very similar to what you all have figured out the professional learning needs to be. So we'll be supporting you in all the same work that you're already doing in SMILE. We're not asking you to do new and different things. We're just bringing some additional resources for doing the things that you're already doing. We're still going to work with you in teacher workshops. We're going to work with you in supporting the after-school clubs. We're going to work with you in the family engagement nights and the college connections. Those are all the same parts of the model that we developed in Georgia that you developed here, so that work will be the same. What we're bringing, what I hope the value added will be for you all, and what I hope we can learn more about together is the instructional model and some of the lessons we learned collaboratively with teachers in Georgia, working with second language learners in science, and how we can bring some of that into a different context, a different state, different standards. Georgia, by the way, is not an NGSS adopter state, which Oregon, of course, is. So that provides us with some new ways to think about how this all fits within an NGSS framework, which is important. And this is support for you all. It's support for Oregon teachers and students, but it is also research that has the intention of learning lessons that can be more generalized and disseminated. And my real hope is that we can learn things together here that won't just inform and improve our teaching, but can actually improve teaching around the country, other places where they are also facing many of the same challenges that we face in Oregon schools. So in a nutshell, the instructional work we're going to be doing is about bringing together three ideas that sometimes get treated separately when we think about supporting kids in science. And the first one is the ideas about the language of science, how language sometimes serves as a stumbling block for kids, makes science feel distant and scary and alienating, or makes kids feel like they don't know what they do know or can't represent their ideas in a way that actually communicates how much they do know. So we've developed a lot of strategies for helping you think more deeply about supporting development of the language of science. How do we help kids take ownership of the language of science? And that's about a lot more than just learning a bunch of technical vocabulary, right? It's about communicating in a certain way. It's about arguing in a certain way. It's about using evidence in a certain way, but it's about making language choices that help us communicate what we're trying to communicate. So that's the first strand of LaCuKnoS, is the language building piece. What does it mean to master and own the language of science? The second strand is the cultural connections. We know that many students feel disconnected from science because they don't feel like culturally it resonates with them. And there's a lot we can do to understand the culture of science, to help everybody fit in the culture of science, to see the connections, and to help everybody realize that it's actually not, so broadening participation in science, thinking about how do we get a greater representation of people interested in pursuing and succeeding in STEM careers. That's an equity issue, right? Because there's a lot of good jobs in STEM, but it's also about improving science. It's absolutely undeniably the case that when we bring more perspectives, more voices, more experiences, more backgrounds to the scientific endeavor, it makes the science better. It changes the questions that get asked. It changes the methods that are thought about for how to answer those questions. It changes the priorities of the populations we might look at when we study science. And so broadening participation in science is about thinking about career trajectories and good jobs for our students, but it's also about thinking about how to make science better. And so I'm very passionate about talking with kids about why it matters to get a broader range of people going into scientific fields at a place like OSU. And then thirdly, the knowledge building piece. When we talk about meeting the needs of English learners, and we often talk about language and culture and barriers, we can't forget that there also is a clear body of knowledge that we need to learn and make sense of to be successful in science. And we can do a lot of work to help kids get excited about science and get motivated and interested in science. We also have to help them master the scientific knowledge base that is going to allow them to be successful. So I think what is unique about the LaCuKnoS project is our attempt to bring together all of these strands in an integrated framework, and then really work collectively and collaboratively to try things out, to get feedback. This is not the kind of project where we have a model, we've got it all worked out, and we're just telling you, please go do this because it's good. That's not what this is. This is work that we're developing together. We have a lot of ideas where to start, but we're very much needing and looking forward to working collaboratively with you all, with your students, with the families in your communities, to make sense of this all together and to learn and continue to get smarter together. So this will be a 4-year project. So I'll be involved with Smile Teachers for at least the next 4 years, and the LaCuKnoS team will. And so those of you who will be involved for a while, we will be getting to know each other. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sorry that we can't all be together in person. I hope you're all doing well in our pandemic, and that you're taking care of yourselves and your families, and that we will get back to some semblance of normal in the not too distant future. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you under happier circumstances and learning together. So thank you very much.